light and dark, soft and hard, joy and sadness, love and hate, masculine and feminine. Ever notice how life is full of opposites? It's like the universe just loves a good paradox. 1 minute you're on top of the world, everything's going great. The next, boom. Life humbles you real quick. But here's the thing, those highs and lows, they need each other. Without darkness, how would you even know what light looks like? Without struggle, would victory even feel satisfying? Imagine a song with just one note playing over and over. Boring, right? But throw in contrast, some highs, some lows, a little tension, and suddenly you've got music. Life works the same way. The push and pull, the chaos and calm, the love and heartbreak, they're not problems to be fixed. They're the rhythm that keeps everything moving. So what if, instead of fighting these contradictions, we learned to dance with them? What if tension wasn't something to avoid, but the very thing that makes life meaningful? That's what we're diving into today. The dance of duality. Welcome to Mantis Library. This is where we uncover the hidden rhythms of life. Once you see this in action, you'll never see the world the same way again. Let's begin. From the moment we're born, we're thrust into a world of contrasts. Day turns into night, joy gives way to sorrow, and growth often comes from pain. These dualities aren't just random, they're the very fabric of life. But what's shocking is that the same tension that exists in the world around us also lives within us. It's the push and pull between who we think we are and who we really are. Between the parts of ourselves we proudly show the world and the parts we hide away. This is the dance of duality. And it's not just a philosophical idea. It's the key to understanding ourselves and finding harmony in life. Let's start with the ego and the shadow, two of Carl Jung's most fascinating concepts. The ego is the part of us that's front and center, the voice that says, "I've got this." The face we show to the world. It's the CEO of our identity, making sure we look good, feel good, and stay in control. But lurking in the background is the shadow, the part of us we don't want anyone to see. It's the insecurities, the fears, the parts of ourselves we've shoved into the basement of our minds because they're too messy or uncomfortable to deal with. Here's the thing, the shadow isn't evil, it's just human. Jung put it perfectly. Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it's embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. In other words, the more we ignore our shadow, the bigger it grows. Ever notice how things that irritate you most in other people are often the very same things you dislike about yourself? That's your shadow talking. It's like a mirror reflecting back the parts of you that you've been avoiding. But here's where it gets interesting. The tension between the ego and the shadow isn't a problem. It's an opportunity. When we have the courage to face our shadow, to bring it into the light, something incredible happens. We start to see ourselves more clearly. We become more whole. Jung called this process individuation. The journey of integrating all parts of ourselves, even the ones we'd rather forget. It's not easy, but as Jung reminds us, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Now let's talk about the other layer of this dance, the conscious and the unconscious. The conscious mind is what we're using right now to listen to these words. It's logical, rational, and focused. But beneath the surface is the unconscious, a vast, mysterious realm of memories, instincts, and emotions that influence us in ways we don't ever realize. Think of it as an iceberg. The conscious mind is the tip, but the unconscious is the massive hidden part below the water. Here's where it gets real. Have you ever had a dream that felt so vivid, so meaningful, but you couldn't quite figure out why? Or maybe you found yourself reacting to something in a way that surprised even you. That's your unconscious at work. It's like a backstage director shaping your thoughts, feelings, and actions without you even knowing it. Jung explained it perfectly. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So, how do we bridge the gap between conscious and unconscious? One way is through practices like journaling, meditation, or even therapy. These tools help us to tune in to the whispers of our unconscious, bringing them into the light of awareness. It's not about fixing ourselves, it's about understanding. Because when we understand ourselves, we can start to make choices that align with who we truly are, not just who we think we should be. Let's bring this down to earth with a real-life example. Imagine you're at work and your boss gives you feedback that feels harsh. Your ego might immediately go into defense mode. They're wrong. I'm doing everything right. But what if you pause and dig a little deeper? You might notice a flicker of doubt, a shadowy voice saying, "What if they're right? What if I'm not good enough?" That's your shadow speaking. And if you're brave enough to listen, you might uncover something valuable. Maybe there's a lesson here, a chance to grow. Or maybe you'll realize that the criticism says more about your boss than it does about you. Either way, by facing the tension between your ego and your shadow, you're stepping into a deeper level of self-awareness. Next, let's talk about the concepts of the anima, the feminine aspect within men, and the animus, the masculine aspect within women. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're living, breathing parts of who we are. The anima represents qualities like intuition, emotion, and creativity, while the animus embodies logic, assertiveness, and structure. But here's the twist. No matter your gender, you carry both within you. Think about it. Have you ever met a man who's deeply in touch with his emotions and creative side? That's his anima shining through. Or a woman who's fiercely logical and decisive. That's her animus at work. Jung believed that integrating these inner opposites is essential for psychological balance and healthy relationships. As he famously said, "In each of us there is another whom we do not know. He speaks to us in dreams and tells us how differently he sees us from the way we see ourselves." But why does this matter? Because when we ignore or suppress one side, we create imbalance. A man who denies his anima might struggle to connect emotionally, while a woman who suppresses her animus might find it hard to assert herself. The tension between these inner opposites isn't a flaw, it's an invitation to grow. By embracing both the masculine and feminine within us, we become more complete, more authentic, and more capable of deep, meaningful connections with others. The key here is integration, not elimination. As Jung put it, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. This applies not just to relationships with others, but to the relationship we have with ourselves. When we embrace both the anima and animus, we become more dynamic, more adaptable, and more alive. Now, let's talk about the ultimate goal of all this inner work, the self. In Jungian psychology, the self is the archetype of wholeness, the harmonious integration of all opposites. It's not just about balancing the ego and shadow, the conscious and unconscious, or the anima and animus. It's about bringing all these parts together into a cohesive, unified whole. Jung described the self as the center and circumference of our being. It's both the core of who we are and the totality of our experience. But here's the catch. The self isn't something we achieve overnight. It's a lifelong journey, a process of continual growth and transformation. As Jung wrote, the self is not only the center, but also the whole circumference, which embraces both conscious and unconscious. It is the center of this totality, just as the ego is the center of the conscious mind. So how do we move toward the self? By embracing the tension of opposites. This isn't about choosing one side over the other, but about holding both in balance. Think of it like a tightrope walker. The tension between the two sides is what keeps them upright. Without it, they'd fall. The same is true for us. The tension between light and dark, masculine and feminine, conscious and unconscious, is what propels us forward on the path to wholeness. But what does this look like in practice? It looks like a man allowing himself to cry without shame. A woman speaking her truth without apology. It looks like questioning our automatic reactions. Why do we fear softness? Why do we dismiss strength? It's all about breaking the conditioning that tells us we must be one thing or another, and instead allowing ourselves to be everything we are. This is why real power lies in self-acceptance, not in rejecting our flaws, but in owning them. Not in striving for perfection, but embracing our humanity. Marianne Williamson captured this perfectly. It is not our darkness that most frightens us, but our light. We fear our true selves because they demand that we let go of false identities, of limiting beliefs, and of the safety of the familiar. Yet, when we stop resisting, we find something unexpected. Freedom. Freedom from the roles we've been playing, from the masks we've been wearing, from the illusions we've been clinging to. This is not about becoming someone else, but about finally becoming who we were meant to be. So, the next time you find yourself caught in the push and pull of opposites, remember, this isn't a problem to be solved. It's an invitation to dance, to embrace the light and the dark, the masculine and the feminine, the conscious and the unconscious. Because in the end, it's not about achieving some perfect state of harmony. It's about learning to move with the rhythm of life itself. So, take the risk, step into the dance, and watch as the tension of opposites transforms into the music of your soul. And if you liked this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, the light shines brightest when we learn to embrace the dark. Until next time, stay curious, stay mindful, and never stop exploring. We'll see you again in the Mantis Library.